Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.
All right. Good day, ladies and gents. I'm Emilio A. Colon.
And I am Marcus Mack, and this is the EAC Show coming to you from sunny South Florida with episode 82. Emilio, how you feeling?
Episode 82, Marcus Mack. I'm feeling good on this effing Friday episode, this fucking Friday episode, Marcus Mack. Marcus, I want to absolutely applaud you for your efforts on episode 81. Episode 81 was more of just like an emotional rant, almost in a sense. It had to be natural and organic. For those that were listening or watching on YouTube, you could tell it's not normally the format that we do. We didn't do a promo. We didn't discuss topics in order or whatever it may be. We just went literally straight off the crust, freestyling like there was no tomorrow. Marcus, I appreciate everything that you brought to the show, your energy, your opinions, your anger, your emotion, even the edits at the end, the Nas song, King's Disease, 10 points. Shout out to that. Appreciate that, Marcus Mack. It was well put together, in my opinion, even though it was still as raw as it could be put together.
Peace, King. Peace.
Peace,
King. I appreciate it, though, man. I just spoke my mind. But, we here for this good old fuck it Friday. Feel what I'm saying? Times do go on. We're still in very troubling times. But, again, this is a sports show. So we're here to talk about nothing else but the NBA. Let's start there.
So Marcus Mack, the NBA took a couple of days off and to reflect and do boycott and protest about the shootings between obviously George Floyd and Jacob. I'm drawing blank. I apologize.
Jacob Blake.
Jacob Blake. Thank you. I'm sorry. Jacob Blake. And they're gonna resume games tomorrow. All the games are gonna be back on. Shout out to every league and every athlete that protested in some way, shape, or form. Naomi Osaka protested for tennis, and she actually protested, and then the WTA and APT Tour said, you know what, we're just going to cancel the whole day. We're not going to play. So shout out to them. That was a good job for them. NHL, shout out to them. MLS, shout out to them. Shout out to everybody that literally took this very, very, very serious and said, look, we can't do this. There's no way we're going to look like the Ducks that's going to be out here playing and not caring about sports, almost in a sense, not for nothing. And Marcus, you and I, there was something that we spoke about on our social media page, but we didn't get a chance to speak about on here on episode 81, last episode, was the whole Brody Van Wagenen New York Mets situation with Rob Manfred, your corporate thug, your best friend, Mr. Pro owner, not pro player, commissioner of baseball. Now, Marcus, just for the record, there was retracted statements. Brody Van Wagenen did apologize because now he's claiming that did not come from the commissioner of baseball, that it was a suggestion of one of the owners of the Mets, that the idea of walking out to the field and then walking off the field and coming back an hour later, that was something that was never going to be done by either player on either team. They said they were just going to walk out together in unison and then literally just walk off the field and not play the game. But Brody Van Wagenen's opinion is an opinion that is stressed all through Major League Baseball, that Rob Manfred does not get it. He doesn't get it, not one bit, Marcus Mack. Now, I know we started the episode talking about basketball, but I just wanted to address this because this was something that we talked about, like I said, on our IG page, but we didn't get a chance to talk about it on episode 81.
Right. Yeah. We were supposed to have a good live about that, and we didn't get a chance to. We was both out. You was both out working on the road, and I think you made a post about it as well, right?
Yeah.
On the story. Yeah. Either way, we all know that Rob Manfred is definitely pro money. He's pro business. And I'm not going to say he's anti-player, because obviously what we saw with the NBA, no players, no games.
Yeah.
No games, no money. So, of course he has to do things to appease to the players, but in that particular move, if it was Rob Manfred that said that, that was something that was a stunt that he was trying to pull to appease to the people, which I felt like anybody who said that was a bigot move. And, to try to pull a publicity stunt like that, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, how do you try to have everyone in the league or everyone in that particular situation, where if it's the Mets and the opposing team or the GMs and the coaches, or whatever. Now, everybody's in the know of your bullshit. You're trying to put everybody in with that bigot move. That's crazy, because the only reason why you're doing it is so people could think that you give a shit, you know? So, you know, even if it wasn't Rob Manfred, we still look at good old Rob like, you don't care.
So the reason why I brought this up, Marcus, is because I wanted to show an example of a person that is so disconnected from the people that work in his organization. Like literally the people that work for Major League Baseball, the players, the coaches, all that, the staff, the GMs, the organization. Rob Manfred is so disconnected from those people in comparison to how connected Adam Silver is in the NBA. Marcus, that's the first topic that we're going to talk about today. I know you brung it up. I ended up bringing up the baseball stuff in order to connect the actual story. But the first topic is basically getting back to basketball, everybody, getting back to playing basketball, discussion, new initiatives to be able to go forward, do social justice reform and stuff like that, Marcus.
Yeah, well, what it seems like here, as everyone knows, Chris Paul is the president of the Basketball Players Association, and I guess he says he's completely behind all of the players. And let's not forget that these players, the incident with Jacob Blake was in Milwaukee, right? Not Milwaukee. It was in Wisconsin. I forgot the name of the city, but it was in Wisconsin. Milwaukee being in Wisconsin, I guess it really touched the players of the Milwaukee Bucks the most. They sparked it, and a bunch of other players and teams followed suit. And while in communication with each other, it was just like, hey man, listen, we got to have some form of commitment towards change. And I think commitment is a big part of anything. If you want anything to get done, commitment is important. So, I guess the NBA is, they got together with the Players Association, and they're discussing a way to utilize the different establishments that the NBA have available to use for voting and for racial inequality and police reform. How they're going to go about doing it, I guess they're putting that together now. But I would love to see how this plays out, because seeing a establishment as big as the NBA that really wants to help and really want to contribute to some form of reform in this country with something as big as this, I think that's really dope, man. That's really dope.
Marcus Mack, we talked about this on the last episode. Until you can get these big name owners to be able to lead the way of that movement with the social reform and equality and, making sure that everybody's, is treated equal, that racism is eradicated completely, in my opinion, the steps are going to be smaller and smaller until you can get those people on board. You get a Jerry Jones on board, a Stephen Ross on board. You get these owners, these big monopoly monstrosity type owners at the highest level to sit there and say enough is enough. You get a Jeff Bezos to talk about this. You get a Bill Gates to talk about this. You get those types of people to talk about this. You get an Elon Musk to talk about this. And then things will actually start to take place. Until then, we're going to make little steps, little by little. Not that they're not important. They're definitely important, but we're going to take little steps, until those large, massive names get on board with this type of movement. It's going to be slow. But slow and steady wins the race, so that's okay. Right. It can still be that way. If it has to
direction is way more important than speed. Yeah. And as of right now, we're finding a direction, and we're getting people involved, and we're going slowly but surely towards that direction. And it's funny, like I always tell my daughter, if you do nothing at all, you'll get nowhere. And I always, paint this the scenario for. I said, you know, if I stand right here and I need to get to the car, and I just stand here, am I going to get to the car? No. I said, well, if I just kind of tippy-toe towards the door, am I going to get to the car? You know, my daughter's 7, so she'll be like, no, you won't get to the car. I won't get to the car? Yes, of course. Every small little step towards a better good, a greater good, is still a step forward, no matter how small the step. So, you know, I'm proud of these guys, man. And you know, you got to understand too, like this is the next generation. These guys.
Wait. So guys and the women, don't forget the WNBA,
right.
The NWSL, all of those, the tennis, you know, Naomi Osaka, Serena Williams, everybody that's all protesting. But look, one more thing, Marcus, and I want you to input this, clip this when you get a chance. Also, for the people, like I said in the last episode, you and I both discussed, for the people that are choosing not to protest, for the people that are choosing not to kneel for the national anthem, please don't beat these people up. Like, literally, don't go after them on social media. Don't try to cancel them or whatever it may be, because you don't know them and you don't know their story. If a person sits there and protests differently than somebody else, that does not mean they don't ride for the cause. Because a person doesn't kneel for the national anthem does not mean they're not on the same page of ending racism. It does not mean that at all.
Right.
Michael Bradley right now on social media, Michael Bradley is the United States men's national team soccer team captain. He is getting ridiculed because today, when the Montreal Impact played at Toronto FC, everybody else kneeled except him. That does not mean that Michael Bradley doesn't want to end racism. Cut this out. Stop trying to cancel him.
I mean, look, assuming that if somebody isn't a part of the immediate situation, like if somebody doesn't want to kneel or somebody isn't boycotting, to assume that they are not with the movement because they don't do it, that's like assuming that some white guy, because he has 1 or 2 black friends, that he's not racist. Like, you know, it's an assumption. And, you know, my biggest thing is that these guys, like you said, these guys got families too. And they're not going to sit out. You know, that wasn't on their brain, be like, all right, let's boycott. Their whole thing is like, yo, you know, we came to play ball, let's play ball, and maybe it's something else we could do. It's just these players that are sitting out, they just said, man, enough is enough, man. Like, you know, enough is enough, we're going to sit out, you know? So I would never point at nobody and say, well, they should be sitting out too. Because the same people that's saying them players should be sitting out too are probably still going to work. Y'all still going to work. I don't see y'all going to boycott.
So, Marcus, I've had this discussion with my 16-year-old daughter. And she goes, Daddy, I want to kneel, but I don't want to disrespect the flag. But that's fine. That's no problem, Naja. I said, listen, kneel before, because in soccer, they always ask the goalies before the game starts, goalie, you ready? Goalie, you ready? So kneel when they ask the goalies if they're ready. You don't have to kneel for the national anthem. Never. Like, if that's how you feel, no problem. But if she felt like she wanted to kneel for the national anthem, I'd support her 100%. Yeah, right. I support her 100%. Well, that's just the way it is. Everybody's different. That doesn't mean that person is not riding for the cause.
Right. I mean, to anybody who's unsure what to do because they feel like, you know, they're completely against what's going on in society right now, and they want to make some kind of change, and you're unsure of what to do, that's okay. That's fine. You don't have to kneel during the national anthem. I love this country. I love America. I was born here, you know, but, you know, it's just what the blood on that flag, you know, there needs to be dialogue about it. There needs to be some kind of dialogue about what has transpired. It needs to be dialogue about the shadow that's still over this country. We need to bring to light a lot of the things that has happened in the dark and the results of it up until this day, you know. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, because we're not trying to disrespect the country per se. It's just the things that need to be brought to the light that, you know, a lot of the things that's going on right now is a result of the things that that ancestors did, like, you know, white people's ancestors or whatever. But don't feel no ways for all the people that don't know exactly what to do. Don't feel no ways, like, don't let nobody tell you, oh, if you're not going to protest, you this, you that. No, don't feel no ways.
Marcus, I'm just so happy that the guys and the girls took the time that was necessary for them in order to reflect and sit there and get their message across and use their platforms to say what they wanted to say. Now the sports are going to end up getting back to their regularly scheduled program. NHL playoffs getting back, NBA getting back, MLB getting back, the tennis scene, soccer is about to start going on and getting going, Marcus Mack. And speaking about the soccer, we had a owner of the NWSL, Utah Royals, and RSL, which is the Real Salt Lake MLS team. He also said some derogatory comments, which he then retracted and said they were misinterpreted or whatever it may be. Marcus Mack, we had an issue with this with Donald Sterling. We mentioned this on the last episode, that Donald Sterling said some racist remark and they ousted him out of the NBA completely, immediately. Like, Adam Silver was not playing. Now, if Don Garber, literally the commissioner of MLS, figures out or does an investigation into these remarks that was, quote unquote, allegedly said by this Utah Royals owner and this Real Salt Lake owner of the MLS team, if he ended up saying anything remotely to that, he has to do the same exact thing that the NBA and Adam Silver did to Donald Sterling.
Yeah, I mean, the best move will be to remove anything that represents that oppressive behavior, to remove it, so that way it's known and understood that it's not going to be tolerated at all. Because, you know, a lot of this behavior is taught. All of this behavior is taught, which is the reason why I said what I said. Like, a lot of stuff that's going on is subsequent to what their ancestors did, because the behavior is taught over generation, and we got into this point. So once we start teaching, that it won't be tolerated, then that's when things will start to change, because the perspective from that side of it will change completely. Like, okay, this isn't cool. It's not all right. Then the why is it not cool will start to come in. Like, why is it not cool? And then we could talk about that. But there's no way in the world why somebody should make any kind of remarks, any kind of statements, you know what I'm saying, and not face some kind of consequences behind it.
I couldn't agree more, Marcus. I got to definitely get to this promo because we didn't get to the promo last episode. So this part of the show is brought to you by our sponsor, ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. Use the promo code EAC and receive discounts on online pickups or delivery orders. Enjoy a natural workout of that café con leche or that natural pre-workout shot of that Cuban coffee to start your day. The daily lunch specials and their steak sandwich is next level. Once again, use the promo code EAC. That's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com or 954-906-5110. Remember, use the promo code EAC to save yourself some money. And that's ElCubanoSandwichShop.com. And that's El Cubano Sandwich Shop in Coral Springs. Marcus Mack, this has been an Effort Friday episode. I think there's only been fucking 3 curses on here in all actuality.
Fuck it.
That usually has to do with the fact that, you know, when you're talking about a serious subject, you know, it's a little bit different than to have a little bit of wordplay and fun shit. But this subject, not for nothing, I think this subject is great. And shout out to all of the parents of those students, athletes in the Big Ten that are literally going to sit there and sue the Big Ten because they feel like they did not make a valiant effort to sit there and allow these kids to play a college football season. Now the Big Ten, because they're scared that they're going to have a bunch of lawsuits and liabilities up their ass, wants to sit there and say, oh, maybe we could play by Thanksgiving. Look, you guys should have did what the SEC, SEC, and every other, the Big 12, you should have figured out a way to, maybe we can try to save the season for the student athletes. You guys just canceled it because you guys just sat there and said, we're going to do whatever the hell we want. We're not going to talk to nobody. We're not going to get nobody's opinion. Forget what the players want. The players been busting their ass since they went back to school. You literally made the decision without consulting them, and now you're going to get a bunch of lawsuits. And now you want to sit there and revisit and say, okay, maybe we start Thanksgiving. You guys are just trying to cover your own asses. Shout out to all those parents that went up to the conference headquarters and sat there and demanded that their voices be heard. Shout out to every last one of you, because you know, at the end of the day, those student athletes don't get shit.
I mean, do you think they would actually win in court with these lawsuits?
100%. The NCAA has fared poorly when it comes to lawsuits against student athletes. Ed O'Bannon and them boys back in the days, they sued the NCAA when the NCAA had NCAA basketball, and they used their likenesses in video games. And Ed O'Bannon and a whole bunch of other players sued the NCAA, and they won.
I mean, I don't know. The whole reason for them, you know, shutting anything down or not moving forward anything is because of COVID, right? Yes,
but still, there's other conferences in the country, Marcus, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, that are sitting there and they're going forward with football in some way, shape, or form. It might not be what you're used to. It might not be the long schedule that you're used to, but it's football. And it's literally it's giving these guys an opportunity to showcase themselves, to be able later on to make money in their future. Because basically what they're doing is they're stalling. You're stalling. You're holding these guys back because at the end of the day, these guys don't make any money. These guys are literally going to school and they have to perform. And if they perform well, then they have an opportunity to go to NFL or the XFL or the CFL or whatever it may be. But you know what? You need the opportunity to perform. And if you're not giving me that opportunity to perform, or you're not fulfilling like the best chance of trying to fulfill that season, if you're just saying, we're not playing, like, you're killing that for them.
And and really what it seems like is what it is they just kind of left out some of the not smaller teams, but the lesser, or what they feel like they can perform, like the lesser performing teams.
That conference specifically feels like their voices were not heard, that the decisions was made without necessarily getting their opinions on what they should be doing.
But my question is, why that particular conference? Why these particular conferences? Like, why?
Because that conference, in all actuality, Marcus, other than Michigan and Ohio State, the rest of the schools are very, like, even keel schools. They're very middle of the pack type schools. They're not big name schools. Are they big name schools when it comes to academics? Absolutely. No, Northwestern, that's an amazing school, whatever it may be. But I'm talking about from the football standpoint. They're not Alabama. They're not Clemson. They're not Florida. They're not Texas.
They're not the top performing schools.
Exactly, when it comes to football. So in all actuality, other than Ohio State, and Michigan is a far second behind Ohio State, the rest of the conference's names doesn't hold weight. They don't hold water. So if you don't hold water, then what you're saying is going to fall on deaf ears. Now, mind you, Notre Dame is an independent, which means, Marcus, they make their own schedule. They play teams in all conferences. They do whatever they want because Notre Dame has a media contract through NBC attached to the school. So Notre Dame could go to any conference and say, yo, accept us because we're going to pump money into your conference this year because obviously we can only play in conference games. So the ACC absorbed Notre Dame this year. So that means that all games on NBC played against Notre Dame, schools are going to be nationally televised. So that gives you an opportunity to showcase your school and your performance to recruit. So recruits are going to be able to see Notre Dame playing against schools they normally don't play against. So Notre Dame being an independent holds so much weight. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. The other schools inside of the conference in the Big Ten that are smaller, they don't have that voice. They don't have that weight to sit there and say, look, we're Northwestern. Look, we're such and such. We're going to sit there and we're going to say we want to play. The conference is going to be like, it's going to go through one fucking year and out the fucking other. They don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think in this case, when you break it down like that, then yeah, maybe discrimination might be a big part of that lawsuit. But then it's like discriminating. It's one of those things because I want to know how would this case be, and what would the case that they would try to really bring it for this lawsuit in court.
The case would be a good faith case where they sit there and they say that the Big 10, the Big 10 did not act in good faith to try to fulfill a schedule completely for the student athletes. That's what they would sit there and say. They would sit and they would use the leagues that are doing it as an example. They would sit there and say, look at the SEC, look at Alabama, look at Florida, look at all these schools, Auburn, they're all going to play each other. Look at the Big 12 where you got Texas and West Virginia and Texas A&M, Texas Tech. You got all these schools. And then look at the ACC. You got Clemson, you got Miami, you got North Carolina, you got Notre Dame who's entering. You got also you got the UCF. Shout out to Cameron and his UCF. They're going to end up playing as well. So you got different conferences that are playing no matter what. The question is that in that lawsuit, they will sit there and they will say, you're not doing this in good faith. You're literally just doing this to save your own ass. That's how they would explain it. And it would, in my opinion, I don't even think it would get to court. I think they would probably try to figure out how to settle, or the season would start before it even got to court and then you dismiss the case.
Yeah, I think if anything happens, they'll probably settle. But if they settle it, you don't think they're going to take it out on those teams?
No. It's not like that. There ain't no hard feelings. It's just business. At the end of the day, it's just business, baby. It's just business, baby.
It's always business, huh?
It's always just business. It ain't no hard feelings, Marcus Mack, at all. None.
Yeah, well, I think all of those guys deserve a chance, no matter what school they're going to. All those guys deserve a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you totally.
Because there's no reason at all if a school is playing and they having the opportunity that they have, there's no reason why B school shouldn't have the same opportunity. And if it's in the name of COVID, then all of those rules should apply to everyone. And they shouldn't just single out one particular conference because, like you said, it's a smaller school, or because it's not it's not one of those schools with a high amount of notoriety like a UCF or a Notre Dame or something like that.
Absolutely. So, Marcus Mack, we have so much that's going on this week because all of these sports are coming back to play. NHL, NBA, you got tennis, you got MLS, you got, NWS. You got so much sports coming back this weekend. So we're going to have so much to discuss on Monday's episode, Marcus Mack. I'm Emilio A. Colon. That is Marcus Mack. Literally check us out, episode 83. Click like, subscribe on all podcast platforms and on YouTube, and we'll check you out episode 83. Marcus Mack, send us off, buddy.
Check out on the next episode, man. Speculation talk over, man.
Speculation talk over.
Oh, sugar honey iced tea. It's the EAC Show.